Hey guys, this is Red and Blue, the channel on YouTube for all things PSG in English. Please subscribe. Today, a different topic, no PSG or like little PSG, but there's not much news going on with PSG anyway. And instead of just rehashing transfer rumors and just speculating on what Luis Campos might be doing, just wanted to take a bit of time and kind of talk overall about French football and the way Ligue 1 has been doing in these transfer windows. Obviously, the environment that PSG is part of, so it does impact us. And I think we want to keep an eye as well on the league and the rivals and the teams that we're going to be playing all season. So wanted to do an update there, and I might do as well in coming day. Let me know in the comments that's of interest to you. But do a quick roundup of what's been going on with the top European teams as well. I think everyone is kind of keeping an eye on the big transfers, but I can, add my perspective on who's doing well, who's doing what, and so on and so forth, and how it stacks up against PSG. So anyway, in League One, the big question really right now is about money because the TV rights question is somewhat settled. The professional league in France has decided to create their own TV channel, so to speak, or like streaming service, whatever you might want to call it, and essentially do the broadcaster jobs themselves, which means a few things for clubs. It means that, obviously there's less uncertainty of year after year after year, having to change broadcasters every season. But it means that in the short term, there's no money because until people sign up, there's just no money going into it. And so for the clubs, they still get the money from international TV rights. They still get the little bit of money that doesn't have to pay to break the contract. There's still a little bit of here and there, but it's nowhere close to what they were used to for TV rights. And so obviously this leads to a transfer market where most teams have to be somewhat reasonable and quiet, or at least be pretty smart in terms of the opportunities that they took up. So PSG so far, we've said like this, apart from Renato Marin, like not that much has been going on. It looks like we're mostly focusing on trying to offload the excess players and the Skriniars and the Asensios and the Mukieles and Solers of the world. Which are all in various states of on their way out. And then in terms of intake, Renato Marin come in, but that's a third goalkeeper on a free, so it's not really a headline transfer anyway. And yeah, Zabarni is still the big one that's in contention. Apart from that, looking at other team, and I'll start like I'm not going to do it in any sort of order. I'm just like talking of what I know. Lyon, I think, was the one that obviously went through the most up and downs. So if you missed the previous episodes, Lyon was relegated by the financial watchdog of the French League for having like bonkers level of losses financially. Which led to John Textor stepping back as president of Lyon, which led to Michel Kang stepping in, which led to the financial watchdog going back and saying like, wait, actually, like, now that you guys are putting in more money, okay, we'll let you remain in Ligue 1. But that comes with the promise of Lyon like really tackling their financial trouble and actually doing a job at it. And so I think at this point it's really like it's pretty much an open bar on Lyon's players. Obviously, Cherki has went to Man City before the Club World Cup, but now Tolisso might be on his way out, Mikotadze might be on his way out. Essentially, like anyone that's got any sort of value, Nuama might be on his way out. Anyone who's got some sort of value in the Lyon team is being looked at by French and international teams. Lacazette ended his contract. Thiago Almada was only on loan from Botafogo, so he went back. Tagliafico left at the end of his contract. So they do have like really, really like a lot of players who are leaving. So far in terms of arrival, like really not that much going on. They did just it looks like it was more or less done. Like get one of the sons of Patrick Kluivert. Honestly, like obviously big name because of the father, but not really like not really at the same level. So it's gonna be a tough rebuild for them. They really need to sell a bunch of players before they can do anything anyway. So we'll have to see what goes. One of the ones that's done some business and that's pretty interesting if you ask me is Monaco. Monaco, they brought in three players who I think are like really really interesting in terms of adding to their squad. They brought in Eric Dyer, formerly Tottenham, I think, and formerly Bayern Munich most recently, who came into Monaco at the end of his contract. They brought in Paul Pogba, who's back after a 2-year suspension for doping and all sorts of like weird shady dealings and so on. And they brought him in Ansu Fati on a loan from Barcelona with a buying clause that's pretty low. I think it's around 10-12 million euro. And yeah, I think obviously like big bets. None of them have been like living up to their promises or living up to what we've seen from them in the past in the last year. Eric Dyer, like in Bayern, hasn't been great, hasn't played a lot, but he's obviously a defender with a lot of experience and yeah, like he's been through quite a lot, and I think if you look at and I think it goes with Pogba as well. I mean, Pogba was suspended, but he's obviously a player who was world champion with France, who's been through like Juventus and Man United and back and forth and so on. He's been at the top level for a long, long time. And so that's really, adding experience to a Monaco squad that was generally last season like very, very talented, but sometimes like a bit inexperienced and a bit young. And if you look at the way they lost against Benfica, for example, in the Champions League in the first knockout round, they were like this close to getting through, and they really lost it like on experience. And so hopefully with this kind of addition, I mean, both players are really like bets because we don't really know what their actual level is going to be. But at least in terms of their experience, they're definitely going to be additive to the team. And the last one in Ansu Fati, also kind of a bet, but I think like he was like the for a while like the new Messi in Barcelona and like the guy who was going to be the new superstar. He had like so much trouble with injuries as well, but never really lived up to those promises. He's been slowly but surely like rebuilding himself as a football player. I think last year he was on loan in Brighton, if I'm not mistaken, and yeah, it was still a case of there was some injuries there, but so overall, like with more realistic expectations against him, he's a player that can perform and that can help a team. And I think Monaco is also pretty like could be a very good place for him because Monaco, like despite the glitter and the money and so on, like it's a very very quiet place. They literally play in front of less than 10,000 people on any given week. They can train in peace. There's really not that much attention paid to them, but at the same time, they remain a very good team. They've got a good training ground. They've got a good coaching staff. So for Ansu Fati, he can regain fitness there. He can like quietly get back to playing football on a regular basis, and hopefully, show what were the promises that we had seen in him when he was younger. So that could be interesting. I think Monaco beyond that, there's still a lot of question marks in terms of players leaving. There's question marks in terms of their goalkeepers, and then there's question marks in terms of Akliouche and Ben Seguir, who were two really bright young stars in Monaco last season. Akliouche has been talked about with PSG, but Monaco is putting a big price tag on him. But yeah, two young rising stars who could very well be on their way out, assuming some club comes in and drops the money that Monaco wants from them, and then it could turn into a bigger rebuild for Monaco. But obviously, they do that with money in their pocket, which would put them in a more comfortable situation. The other club, which I've kind of liked what they've been doing so far, is Paris FC. So the second team in Paris that's going to be in the first year of French football this season. They just got promoted from the second division, and so it's going to be their first year amongst the elite. And yes, they've been doing very well at balancing the signings that they've had to do. Obviously, when you get promoted, you do need to strengthen your squad, to bring in some depth, to bring in some experience, to be able to stay in the top flight. And they've done that really well. They've recruited Nantes winger Moses Simon, who's been a Ligue 1 regular for many years. And can be a pretty exciting player, can be a bit inconsistent, and obviously he's not he's not PSG level by any means, but he's a good Ligue 1 player as far as I'm concerned. They've been talking about Benjamin Andre, which is also a very, very undervalued midfielder for years and years within Ligue 1. He's very experienced. He's in Lille right now, and I think he only has 1 year of contract left or something. So it's a question of does Lille let him go for no money or very little money? Then could be interesting. And yeah, obviously Paris FC, they're working. They got bought out by the Arnault family, who in France is the family that owns all of the LVMH brands, so Louis Vuitton, Moet, and so on. So very, very big consortium of luxury businesses and with very, very deep pockets. We're talking about, I think, one of, if not the richest person in France. And they've partnered with the Red Bull Group. So there is also that football expertise and that expertise in bringing in the right talent at the right time and for the right thing. Sorry. So yeah, I think Paris FC is going to be an exciting one to watch. And yeah, if they keep going like this, already it doesn't feel like they should be in a battle to avoid relegation. And so they're putting quite an exciting proposition. That I think if all works well right now, I'd put them probably square in the middle of the table and middle of the pack. Not quite challenging for Europe or anything like this, but fairly comfortable at the middle of the table of Ligue 1. Cool. And then couple which we'll have to see. I think among the perennials. European qualified teams in France. I think Nice and Lille and Rennes. There's been a few things going out. They've let go of some players, some of them bigger than others. So Nice lost their goalkeeper Marcin Bulka, who was in PSG back then. Rennes has lost one of their central defender to Bournemouth. Lille also, they lost Jonathan David on a free who went to Juventus. So there's been in all of those teams some key players leaving out, and I think at this point not entirely been replaced yet. So we'll have to see if those teams just don't have the money to replace and have to trust lower players or academy players or something, or if they're just on the lookout for the right opportunity and the right deal for some of those positions. And yeah, another team that's been doing a lot of work is Lens. Lens is actually very interesting because I think in terms of the management of the club as a business, the business management element of it, they've been doing really well the past few years, and they do have this nice rotation of players coming in and then being sold at a profit, and players coming in from unknown destinations or unknown player. And yeah, true to form, this mercato so far, they brought in quite a few players, usually for relatively cheap as well. But yeah, some of them could very well be breakout stars for them. So they've recruited from Aachen, they've recruited Baidu Samson from Salzburg for 8 million euros. They've recruited Morgan Guilavogui, who was in Paris FC in the second tiers until a few years ago from St. Pauli. They've recruited from Strasbourg, from Metz. So quite a few players have come in, typically below the 5 million euro mark. And so yeah, it makes me believe that they might be looking at the next generation on their team. At the same time, they did lose some big talent. They lost Kevin Denso, who went to Tottenham. They lost Facundo, who went to Marseille. So yeah, there's quite a few things going on there. So we'll have to see how it goes. Yes, they also very recently lost Neil El Ainaoui. Very, very good and talented player who went to AS Roma for 23.5 million euro. I think this one was kind of a blow because they were hoping to keep him. But yeah, finances are what happens right now. and the player wanted to go as well. So yeah, it is what it is. Cool. And then the last one I wanted to touch on, obviously, our rival Marseille. Uh, yeah, I mean, true to form, like they're doing some business. Honestly, it's not like in some cases, like not the worst stuff in the world. So they've confirmed Højbjerg, who was on loan from Tottenham last year. So now they've really signed him. They got Angel Gomez, midfielder from Lille, who's been playing really well from Lille, on a free as well. They got Egan Riley from Burnley, Medina Facundo in central defense from Lens. Jonathan Rowe from Norwich. So quite a few like relatively big name signing and relatively big amounts as well. And that should be additive to their squad. They're in the middle of finalizing the return of Aubameyang, who was in Saudi Arabia last season, but might return to Marseille. And so yeah, like we'll have to see their first friendly game against 43rd division Dutch team or whatever it was. Like they routed them. Second one against the Belgian team was a bit harder. Yeah, we'll have to see how all of those things gel together. They've managed to keep their coach as well in Roberto De Zerbi, who was talked about in Italy for a long while at the beginning of the holiday. So yeah, they're going to be playing in the Champions League though, so it's a lot of energy, a lot more games that they're going to have to play. Are they going to manage to build the squad depth and the squad density in terms of talent to be able to compete in Ligue 1 while also not being completely ridiculous in the Champions League? I think that's an open question at this point. They did lose Luis Enrique to Inter Milan, and I think at this point, like, it's not entirely replaced in terms of quality within the squad. So yeah, it's still a little bit early to tell. And yeah, we'll have to see how things gel together and how things come together for them. But yeah, essentially, like, oh yeah, no, the other things I wanted to mention, Lille brought in Giroud, who's coming back from LA, from Los Angeles back to Ligue 1, in a move that really like lifted eyebrows across France. I think everyone is a bit curious to see at his age how much he can realistically contribute in a competition like Ligue 1. No offense to MLS, but I think it's generally admitted that the level there is really like 3 notch lower than what Ligue 1 is. And even then, like, I don't think he's made a huge impact in LA. So we'll have to see. Obviously, he's a player that's seen it all. He's went through years and years in Arsenal. He was in Montpellier before and actually got the title ahead of PSG at the very beginning of the QSI era. He's been with the French team, and I think he's the top scorer of the French league, the French national team. So yeah, he's got backs of experience, but I think he's pushing 40 at this point. So in a very physical and dense league like Ligue 1, is he going to be here for much more than jumping in 5 minutes at the end of a game? Or like, yeah, I really doubt like what he can contribute to that team. So we'll have to see, and hopefully it's not a sign that between him and Pogba and Dyer and so on, like, we're not becoming the retirement home of European football after being the Farmers League. So we'll have to see how those guys adapt and what they can bring. I think it's going to be likely like a fairly transitional year for a lot of teams just because of the money conversation. At the same time, like, the value of Ligue 1 for many years now, like apart from PSG, hasn't been in the players that clubs have been able to sign for a lot of money. They've been in the players that have been able to emerge from the academies. I think there's still a lot of talent there. Hopefully, the clubs don't need to sell them all before the end of the window. But that should be where the excitement is. And yeah, we'll have to see as well what PSG does in terms of transfer and how we strengthen our squad as well. But we could be looking at I mean, it's going to be, as always, like we're going to be starting as huge favorites for it, which I think is fair, and I think probably even more fair this year. Lyon is likely going to have to sell so much that I don't see them being in a position to compete. Marseille and Monaco, like they're always going to be dangerous. They're always going to be there. Will they have what it takes to really like challenge over 9 months of competition? It's hard to say at this point. We'll have to keep an eye on it, but yeah, like I'm not overly worried as it is. In any case, we're champion of Europe, so this is way below us anyway. So yeah, that was it. That was it for me for the little League One update of the day. This is kind of what we're seeing in France right now. Let me know what you think, whether this was interesting for you, whether you're cool with it, or you just want me to talk about PSG. Let me know if you're interested in me doing something similar with the top European team, and whether that's going to be of value. Obviously, I'm still going to be doing 90+% PSG, and most of the stuff is going to be PSG. But I think it's also interesting once in a while, especially like because I'm doing this in English. I assume like a lot of people in the UK, in the US, in other places around the world might not have access to a lot of information around what other Ligue 1 teams are doing. So it might be interesting for you just for context. And yeah, obviously we'll be talking about PSG more often, but yeah, like once in a while, I think could be good. Let me know what you think. Please drop a like anyway, whether you like it or not, because that always helps the channel. And if you haven't yet, man, subscribe. Like, let's go do it. It's nothing, just one click down there, subscribe button. And if you're extra about it, you can hit the bell after, and then you get notified every time I drop a video, which is usually once a day anyway. So yeah, thanks for watching all the way. I'll see you guys soon, and don't forget, across Ligue 1, anywhere in France, ici c'est Paris!